All right, what's going on? Welcome to another video. I don't want to be the pessimist here, but I'm going to be going over why you're not successful in high ticket sales, whether you're a setter, closer, and what to do instead because space is getting a little bit crowded. So, most closers and sales reps come into this space thinking it's easy money, right? They're all sold the dream. And the ones that do get to see a little bit of success also end up being just stuck, right? Now, when I say stuck, it's a good stuck for most. It's making 10, 15, 20K. Now, there's plenty of reasons why most setters closers can't break past that part, right? The 10, 20K a month mark. Now, most don't even fucking make it to that point because they just go around looking for jobs. And here's a couple of the reasons that I've found that this is happening. So, number one, closers are a commodity. All right, first and foremost, this doesn't apply to all closers, but this does apply to 90% of them, right? Only the top 10% are actually doing good and actually making money in this space, and they're actually, living the life that they want and making the money they want and all that good stuff. But 90% of the self proclaimed closers that just because you go through a training, you feel entitled to X, Y, and Z, you're not going to make it, right? For example, go to Facebook right now and type in high ticket sales in the search bar, and you'll see a bunch of Facebook groups pop up. In any one of those groups, go take a look at any job post that's looking for either a closer or a setter or a SDR or whatever in any of these high ticket Facebook groups, and the post will have requirements, right? What you need to do in order to qualify for this role. It'll have your on track earnings, usually are inflated, and at the end of the post, they'll have a CTA, a call to action, right? A word like, look, if you qualify for this role and you want to make X amount of money, our company culture is great, our business is great. Comment, I'm interested, or comment, apply, and XYZ, some person will reach out to you, so on and so forth. Now, right underneath the post in the comment section, right? The same post we're talking about, and it's not one, there's like tens of them every single day. Right under the comment section, if you go and just scroll through, you'll see minimum like 100, 200. I've seen some posts with 500 comments with people saying I'm interested or apply. Of course you're interested, you have a fucking job, right? And this is a side note. If you're actually good at closing and you've built up a network of businesses already, you're never going to have to tell people you're interested. You're never going to be out of a job. People will snag you up. And if that's not happening to you, I'm sorry to say you're not that good. Now, there's a few reasons why all these people are commenting I'm interested or I want a job. Number one, there's way too many closers than there are good or legitimate offers, right? For I think from the number I remember, it's like 80 applicants to one offer, right? That means there's 80 people that can do the same job, but there's only one opening for that job, for that role, right? Sales reps don't want to spend money to get training or access to networks, right? We have a sales training program as well. A lot of sales reps that come into this industry, they want to do it themselves, which by all means you can. And it's going to take a little bit longer, right? Because you don't have access to the right network. You don't have the right training. You don't know how to, even if you want to go land a job or interview by yourself, you know how to do any of that. And you refuse to get help. And that's why it might take you a bit longer, but you'll get there. But just not wanting to do any of this, it just holds you back. Then you have self proclaimed closers who feel like they can do it themselves without any help. I don't need this. I don't need that. I don't need him. I don't need her, whatever the case is. They want to do, they think they know it all, right? They've never been in this industry, but they think they know it all. And then there's no one out there that's actually networking on their own side, aside from commenting like 50,000 fucking others on a fucking job post, right? Networking is so huge, and I'm gonna have another video coming on this as well. It's so huge in the high ticket space where if you're not networking on your own, sure, if you go to a sales training program and you get placed through them, that's fine. But what happens after 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, you get let go or you don't want to sell on that offer no more? What happens then? You have to go find a job. And instead of being like 50,000 others commenting on job posts, go build your network during that time. So that's number one. And I'm sure you've seen all the ads nowadays too. I even saw a couple of kids claiming to train people on how to become high ticket closer, and these are literally kids. They don't have facial hair, and they've generated 500, 800,000 in a year, and now they want to train other people to do so, right? And which, by the way, at 10%, if you've generated 500 to 800,000, you haven't made 10 grand a month. You made 50, 80K overall. So just make sure you have an idea of what who you're going to be working with. So now, don't get me wrong, it's a highly rewarding field, but you have to be careful who you work with. All right, unless the person you're getting training from has done multiple millions, right, like eight figures at least. Uh, I would recommend not working with them. And I don't want to badmouth anyone, but just the experience isn't there, right? You gotta, in my opinion, have at least 5, 10, 15 years of experience to be able to train someone else to do the same thing. That being said, when you're easily replaced by someone else, right? Remember the 80 to 1 ratio, 80 closers for one job, one offer. There is no shortage of closers in this space, right? You become a commodity, right? Let's say if I hire you and you start acting up in my business, guess what? I have 79 others that would be happy to take your position. The solution to this and the way you escape the commodity trap is by becoming someone or having something that cannot be easily replaced, right? End of the day, we can all be replaced. We are all replaceable. Period. End of story. It just comes down to the fact how easy it is to replace you, right? So the way I did this is I decided to help businesses build, manage, and scale their sales team and streamline their sales processes. Now I realize as a top closer, although it will be hard to replace me, it's very hard to replace a top closer on your team, on your business. It will be still doable, right? Relatively easily. Not easy like a commodity. You're no longer a commodity, but you're a little bit further from the scale. I wanted to be on the totally opposite end. What isn't easy to replace is a fractional sales manager or a sales agency that handles your entire sales process. The process where a customer goes from a total stranger to a fucking paying client. Someone who is handling that entire process for your business, that person is hard to replace, right? And this person is doing your recruiting, your hiring of your entire sales team, setters, closers, SDRs. And if you were to try to replace them, the next person would have their own approach of doing things, which means as a business owner, there's a huge dent in your revenue, right? Because now you have to redo all the systems because you don't know how the new sales agency is going to do or the new fractional sales manager is going to do, so on and so forth. So, in order to be on the opposite end of the commodities, you have to either be a top closer every single month, and more on this later, how you have to start over every month. But you either have to be a top closer every single month to make it almost impossible for your business owner to replace you, which you have to do for 6 months, 12 months, year and a half, whatever. Or to be even more irreplaceable, you become the entire engine rather than just part of the engine. You become the engine to someone's business and manage the entire sales process as well as their sales team, right? And I say engine because sales is the engine to every business. It generates the revenue, it generates the cash. Marketing gets the attention, but then sales generates the cash. Number two is uncapped, quote unquote, right? Most of us came into high ticket sales thinking about all the uncapped commissions we're going to be making. And it makes sense on paper, right? But not all of it is as real as it may seem. So there's many variables that go into being truly uncapped income wise. For example, let's say I'm assuming you're a closer, sales rep watching this. Let's say you're closing for an offer and you made 10K last month in commissions, right? It sounds pretty clean on the surface, right? You generated 100K in revenue and you make 10K a month in commissions. But when you break down the numbers, in reality, it's a little rough. 10K in commissions generated is not the same, and you probably know this if you're in this situation, is not the same as commissions that actually made it to your bank account that month, right? So cash collected, it plays a huge part in what you actually take home on a monthly basis. Now, in order for you to take home 10K a month, you'd have to on average, generate 100K in revenue. Industry average commission wise is 10 to 20%. You'd have to, on average, generate 100K in revenue, assuming you get 10% commission, and 100% of that revenue has to be collected upfront, meaning no payment plans. If you've been in the high ticket industry for anything longer than a week, you know that doesn't happen. there is not a single business, at least not one I've come across, that has no payment plans, that you can only buy this thing upfront in full and that's it. All right. So payment plans exist. Like there's businesses that will have 60, 70, 80% cash collected, but none will have 100% cash collected. At least not the ones I've come across. Now, for those of you who have been in this space again for more than a week, it's a fairy tale, right? Depending on the offer, cash collected. Again, this is just my experience. There's businesses, if they're doing less or more, I don't know, but from the ones I've worked with, 50 to 80% seems to be the sweet spot of total revenue. That's what cash collected comes down to. All right, and 80%, again, by the way, is it's rare. It's not common. Now, using the above scenario, you'd actually take home 5 to 8K at best the month you generated 100K, meaning on paper you made 10 grand. The rest of your commissions would come in the following months as the customers or your clients make the payments. And here's another downside, and I didn't write this in here, but the there's a lot of payment plans that stop. If you have a three payment plan of 3K each, right? A 9K offer, and the customer makes the first payment, doesn't like what he gets, doesn't make the next two payments. Now, you on paper made that two-third of a commission or the entire commission on 9K. You made $900, but you're only getting paid $300. Why? Because the customer decided he doesn't want to do it. So on paper, yeah, you can make a lot of commission, but when you really break the numbers down, and again, if you're in high ticket sales, you know what I'm talking about. You break the numbers down, the actual money hitting your bank account is very different. The solution to this is it lies in the word leverage, right? As a closer, you still have to quote unquote sell your time, right? You're still taking 5 to 8 sales calls in a day in order to make commissions, and commissions that half of them won't even be in your bank account. So there's leverage there compared to someone who's door knocking or selling cars in person or going to open houses on the weekends, trying to sell real estate, but not to a point that you can scale, right? Yeah, you'll make 10, 15, 20K a month, but this channel, this video isn't for people trying to go from 0 to 5 to 10K. It's for people who are already at 10 to 15, 20K and want to scale their income to the next level. Now, there's only 24 hours in the day and you are only one person, right? Maybe instead of 5, you take 8 calls. Maybe instead of 8, you take 10 or 12. At a certain point, you're going to get capped. And if you don't get burnt out by that time, which means month to month, your commissions drop. The leverage piece comes in where you can build a team and have them taking the sales call while you're improving and integrating better systems for that business and operations into that business, as well as making sure the leads are being closed, they're being nurtured by your closers, your setters, your SDRs, everybody's being reached out to, so on and so forth. So now you get a percentage of, you're still getting commission, right? When you set up a deal structure in a certain way, which I'll do another video on, when you have a deal structure in a certain way, you're still getting percentage of the revenue, which is what commission is. It's just a smaller percentage, but I would rather get 5, 7, 8% of 500,000 rather than 10% of 50 or 100K that I generated, right? Because, and here's the crazy thing, you're not taking 5 to 8 sales calls for that 5, 6, 7, 8% revenue share. You're not. You're working an hour, 2 hours a day. And that's where the leverage piece comes in. You scale it. You spend an hour, 2 hours a day for one client, do it for multiple clients, so on and so forth. Do the math yourself. Again, you can do this about having an outsourced sales agency or help businesses build their sales team in-house. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Number 3 is start from scratch. Again, this video is about why you're not successful as a high ticket closer. You have to start from scratch. When you're selling someone else's service or someone else's product, your entire income hits a reset button every single month, right? There's an old saying in sales. It says you're only as good as your last month. And the reason is the month, if you don't perform well for a month or maybe 2 months, you're out. You're out on your ass. It's just the way it goes. And if you haven't experienced it yet, I have a couple times. If you haven't experienced that yet, consider yourself lucky, and I hope you never have to. But if you don't perform for a month or two, you are out on your ass. In order to make money, you have to sell stuff, right? And close deals. When you don't close deals, you don't make money. And every single month, you start at 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? Meaning, if you made 10K last month, this month, guess what? The first, you're starting at zero. You got to start prospecting all over again. And the solution again to this is recurring revenue, right? As you go out, and again, this is all focused towards sales agency. As you go out, build your own sales agency, and there's multiple different types you can do. You can charge a monthly retainer as well as a percentage based on performance. Now, that can be multiple different ways, and you guys have probably seen ads for these: booked calls, sales reps, number of deals, etc. Depending on how you structure the deal, and you can have recurring income regardless how your month went last month. And especially since you'll be signing on 6 months minimum to 12 months contracts, you'll have longevity. You're not going to be living month to month. So if you sign up a contract this month for 12 months at a 10K a month retainer plus 5% performance fee, you're making 100K for the next 12 months. That's if you don't do anything else. As long as you obviously fulfill on whatever it is you're doing, as long as you don't have to go out and start prospecting all over again every single month, and you don't have to start from scratch every single month. It's recurring income. Now, this is not all bad news, right? Becoming a high ticket closer isn't all bad news. So I want to be very clear here. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just trying to be as real as possible. In fact, we have sales training program ourselves, and we train and we place sales reps from other industries into our own internal sales teams. We help people build sales agencies, and we're helping them place them into these sales agencies. We're also helping a couple of businesses build their sales teams. And these are big sales teams, right? 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 reps, right? Businesses doing 7 figures a month. And and I think it's the best thing as a beginner to do, right? If you're just coming into the online space, get started and start selling stuff. Start selling other people's stuff instead of starting your own business, or e-commerce, Amazon FBA. They all work, right? By no means they all work, but as far as ease of ease of implementation, becoming a closer or a setter or a SDR in the high ticket space, basically having someone who already has this thing and selling it for them is going to be much easier, much faster. But once you hit your first 8,000, $10,000 a month, and you at a 8,300 a month, you're a 6 figure person, right? Once you've hit that part, your next step should be to build a business of your own, right? It shouldn't be your first step. You gotta learn how to sell, because how are you gonna sell your thing if you just start your thing from zero and you don't know how to sell? So after you've hit that 10K a month, don't go after more sales training or more objection handling. Yeah, maybe you can go from 10K to 15, 20K, maybe in 25, 30K. Sure, those things work and they might help you level up your income by an extra 5, 10,000, right? At most. But to really 5x to 10x your income, you can, starting a business is your next natural evolution as a sales rep, as a closer. And I'm talking big numbers: 50K, 80K, 100K a month, right? You're already hitting 10, 20K a month, and you just start doing that on a larger scale and take a larger revenue share, larger commissions. That's how you start hitting those big numbers. And from what I've experienced and our clients are experiencing now, starting a sales agency, again, my opinion, is the best approach only for salespeople and closers, because you already know what you're doing. And if you're already hitting the 10K marks, that means you're already good at closing deals and you already have the skill set. You just have to do it on a larger scale, manage a team doing the same. And hopefully you got some value out of this one. And again, all the usual: comment, like, subscribe, all that noise. And if there's some specific topics you want me to make additional videos on, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.